Hello everyone, I hope you're having a fantastic day. Thank you so much for joining me. Now today I get to share with you something new that I picked up from the MFT store. This is a stamp set called Gill Friends. When I saw it, I fell in love with it. I thought it would be really fun to create a aquarium card. I've never did that before, so I thought try it out Tuesday would be perfect. But cute little stamp set. And then also I picked up the aquarium die set. And then the nice thing about this is MFT has rectangle pouches that fit right inside. It makes building your aquarium really easy. So we're going to jump in and make a card. Now I'm going to grab the pouches here, and I thought it would be really fun to try something a little bit different. I have some Nuvo Jewel Drops, Nuvo Crystal Drops. Oh, and Bubbles is out front. I hope you probably can hear him. But these are Morning Dew. They're almost like glossy accents. So if you have glossy accents, it'd work the same way. But I'm going to actually just scribble on the inside of my rectangle pouch here. I thought it'd be neat. Well, right now it's cloudy, but it does dry clear. And I thought it'd be neat to create some water effects, I guess. The outside's smooth, but the inside has a little bit of texture. And here I had did one earlier, and I let it dry completely. And it doesn't look like much now, but when you put it against white cardstock, the shadows that it casts create really neat water effect. So I thought it'd be really neat to create a little scene with that. So we'll set that aside. Now I cut out a panel that's 4 inches. Oh, this is new. My hubby picked this up for me. He got it at the hardware store, a Harbor Freight, and it's a magnet. I thought it would be perfect to hold my dies in, and so I have a metal rolly caddy, and so it sticks right on there perfectly, and it works perfect for small dies too, and I always lose my small ones. And so if you ever or have a hardware or a Harbor Freight near you, there was only like $3, so I think it's going to work out great. But I'm going to cut out a sentiment die. It says friend, and it's also from MFT, and then I'm going to cut out my aquarium frame, and I'm going to just use my Big Shot here. I'm just going to run it through, and then I'm going to carefully lift out my my die and my tape here, and then when I lift up my friend die, I'm actually going to leave my pieces on the inside. The R and the D have little pieces that I'm going to pop up later, so this is going to help me later on. Okay, now I'm actually going to take some fog cardstock. This is from Simon Says Stamp. It's a real pretty gray, and I thought I would use this to die cut out my aquarium top and bottom. So I'm going to run that through my die cut machine as well. And it's going to give me 3 little pieces. Now we'll set those aside, and I'm going to take the inside piece of my aquarium, and then I actually die cut out another panel that was the same exact size, but this time using Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock. I'm just going to tape down my inside piece for the aquarium and trace around it. This way it's going to give me a guide on where to do my blending and where to do my stamping. Now to create my background, I decided to use some Distress Oxide inks. This is Mermaid Lagoon, and then this here is Cracked Pistachio. And I guess I should have used a couple more different colors of blue because it looks like seawater. And then when I added Vintage Photo to the very bottom, it really kind of looked like dirty fish tank water. But the outcome turned out really pretty, so my dirty fish tank water just made it look a little bit more realistic, I suppose. But maybe some brighter colors would look nice. Now to shade in my background for my friend sentiment, I chose the Mermaid Lagoon. I shaded the very top of my panel, and I'm going to punch out the F, the I, the E, and the N. This way I'm just going to make sure that I have full coverage behind my friend there. And I think that's going to work out great. Now I'm going to add a little bit of water to this panel. We're going to oxidize some of that ink to give it a little bit of distressed look, a little bit of texture. I'm waiting a few minutes just so it gives a little bit more oxidation there. But I think that's going to turn out really neat. Now to give my top and the bottom of my fish tank a little bit of texture, I'm also going in with some ice spruce distress oxide ink on those 3 little pieces. Now we're going to do some stamping with the little greenery that's in the stamp set. So to do that, I'm using some forest moss. It's like an olive green distress oxide ink. I grabbed one of the greenery pieces. I'm going to ink it up and I'm going to stamp that on the inside of my tank. Now here's where those pencil marks come in handy because I know where to stamp. I'm going to stamp this larger one a couple times, and then I'm going to grab a different type of greenery and I'm going to stamp that a few times as well on the inside of my tank. I think this card turned out so cute. I mean, there was a lot going on. I probably went a little bit overboard. Sometimes I do that. I get on a roll and I just keep going and going, but I think it really turned out nice. Okay, so my background is done. I'm going to take my front panel just to see how it looks, and I think that's going to look cute. Okay, now while we have my stamp set out, I'm going to stamp my fish. I chose 2 of them, a larger one and a medium-sized one. And I'm going to color my fish in with my Copic markers. So I grab my Memento Tuxedo Black ink. I'm going to ink up my image, my stamp here. And then I went to grab my littler fish and realized both my fish were facing the same way. So I'm going to do a switcheroo and grab one that's facing the left side. So they're facing opposite directions. Okay, now once my images are stamped, I will color those in with Copic markers, but I thought I might as well finish off my front panel. So I placed that inside my stamp platform here, and I grabbed the sentiment that says "Thank you." I'm going to ink it up with my VersaFine ink and stamp that to the right on top of my friend's sentiment. So my sentiment will read, "Thank you, friend." I think it goes perfect with the aquarium. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and zoom in, and then I did leave the coloring in case I didn't do nothing fancy, guys, but I did leave the coloring in. I didn't leave the numbers in the left corner, but I did leave the caps out for you. For the larger fish, I used YR27, YR04, and YR12. It's some dark orange tones. And then the smaller fish, I'm going to use some dark yellow tones. So I have YR23, YR12, and Y18. I think yellows and oranges go so pretty with blues, and so that's why I chose those 2 colors. Now to give my fish a little bit of brightness, I'm going to take my Uniball white gel pen and I'm going to add a little dot accents here on the tail and on the front portion of my little fish. And you can see the little dots. Little dots add so much to color. Now I'll take my scissors and I'll fussy cut those out, and then I did go around the edges of my fish using my black Copic marker. This is going to hide any of my imperfections I did when I fussy cut out. I'll give you a close-up here so you can see. But I think they look really fun. I'm just going to add a foam square behind each of my fish, and then I'm going to layer both my panels together. And then this way I can place my fish down, making sure they're on the inside of my aquarium tank here. And I think that's perfect placement. Okay, now to give the inside of my aquarium a little bit of more water accent. I went in with these are Pretty Pink Posh's clear droplets. I have a small one and a large one, and I added a few on the inside of my aquarium there. Okay, now I'm going to flip this panel over, and we're going to go ahead and finish off the rest of our sentiment. So I'm taking some 3M foam tape, and I'm cutting some itty bitty pieces that will fit on those inside pieces for the R and the D. I'm eventually going to pop this panel up, and so I thought I would do this first since these are itty bitty pieces, and keeping them in there just makes it a lot easier. I'm just going to remove the release paper, and then I'll flip my panel over. I wanted to make sure it was lined up perfectly, and then I'll press down and I can remove my letters. And those center pieces are positioned perfectly. Okay, so that my front panel's done. Now all we have to do is add our aquarium front here. So to attach it, I'm going to use some score tape. Score tape is some super strong tape. So I'm going to go around all the edges here, and I'll remove the release paper, place my panel right over it, and then I'll press firmly around the edges. So that's stuck there, and it's not going to go anywhere. Now I'm going to take some more of that score tape and go around my back panel here, my fish tank. And then I'm going to take my scissors and actually cut my panel in half. Now I do this because this way it's easier for me to line up my the back portion of my aquarium. So I'm going to add a little bit more. Oh, I'm going to add some seed beads. I thought for sand, if I use some gold seed beads, it'd look really nice. And so I thought, well, I'm going to add some white or clear seed beads to give it more bubbles, I suppose. When I said there was a lot going on, I think I probably went a little bit overboard, but it sure did turn out cute. Now I'm adding a little bit more score tape to make sure my back panel is secured to my shaker perfectly and it won't go anywhere. Now I'm making sure I line it up perfectly. And then I'm going to press down, sealing that tape together. And then as I was shaking it, guys, this is a still shot, but as I was shaking it, my camera was shaking too. So I didn't want to give you a headache, so I gave you a still shot. But my camera has been acting a little bit kooky lately, so a still shot, I still wanted to show you the detail that inside shaker had. But now we're going to add the top of our fish tank and the bottom. Now there's two of the same size pieces. I layered the top one on the top piece of the fish tank, and then this bottom one I'm going to pop up with a piece of foam tape. This is going to go on the very bottom of my tank. Now you would think this little piece would be really easy to place on there, but there's a little bit of a lip on each side, and so getting it centered was a little tricky for me, but I got it there. And then I was going to go ahead and add my top piece, but then I'm going to add a little bit of daintiness to this fish tank. So I'm placing a piece of score tape here, and then I'm going to add a piece of white jute cord. I'm going to actually tie a bow to the right of my fish tank. Now I'm going to sandwich my jute cord with a piece of foam tape. That's going to make it easier for me to tie. And then I'm going to place that on my card front, right on top. I know, a bow on a fish tank, but I like dainty things, and so I thought the bow went cute. I just tied it there. Okay, now I'm going to create my card base. I just cut a piece of the fog cardstock in half, and I'm going to score it at 5.5. And then I'll score the very top with my bone folder. This creates an A2 size top folding card. Now using my tape runner, I'll adhere this top panel. I'm going to make sure that I center it. Lovely. And then I'm going to use my foam tape and cover the entire back of this panel. Now I wanted this to be heavily foam taped. So I kind of went crazy, but this is just going to give it a lot of stability. Now I'm centering it, and I'm going to place my front panel right in the center, and everything's lined up beautifully. Now this was a hindsight. I thought I would add a little bit of color to my white front panel here. So I've just grabbed a piece of Post-it tape here, and I'm going to use what was the ink that's left on my blending tool. So this has the Mermaid Lagoon, and I'm going around the edges and a little bit off to the side, giving it just a little bit of color. And then I'll do the same thing to the bottom, but this time I used the cracked pistachio, and then I did blend a little bit of the Mermaid Lagoon with it too. So that's my card for today, guys. My aquarium card, my very busy aquarium card, but I think the outcome turned out just so neat. Thanks so much for stopping by. Oh, I wish you a happy 4th of July. I hope it's wonderful, filled with lots of love and laughter and fireworks. We'll see you again real soon, guys. Bye-bye.